Welcome back to another video here today. This time around we're going to be going over Griddy to the House. This is going to be my second Dynasty that I am in currently. This is one that we started up this year, so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to break down all the teams and a few of my thoughts on it, and then we'll go over, the minimal trades we've had in this league. We haven't had a whole lot of trades happen just due to people really sticking to their team, I guess, or being afraid to trade. This time around, though, our league is a super flex, and I'll kind of touch on that a little bit as we go, but I'm going to try to save a bunch of that for when I break down our drafts, which will come sometime next week. After doing this video here, which will be way shorter than the last one, I plan on going through and giving my thoughts here on what trades I want to make personally, or what trades I think other teams should make. That way I can kind of give myself some more leeway and content for you guys here, because I want to push out as much as I can here, and I think doing something like that would be super nice. But we're going to start things on off here with my team. This is what I'm going into week 11 with. Bryce Young here is going to be starting at one of my quarterback spots here. He was the second quarterback I ended up taking within the draft. I think I took him around, the eighth round. I actually took Kyler Murray, who is now currently on IR, around earlier, and then I picked up Daniel Jones a few rounds, or quite a few rounds later, back in the 20th round. So he was initially my backup quarterback. I only had three quarterbacks post draft that I had on my roster, and then luckily I was able to pick up Brissett off of the waiver when Kyler first got hurt, which was very nice because that guaranteed me a quarterback there from the Cardinals regardless. Um, their other backup, I don't even know if he'd ever even see the field at all, but I doubt it. So I'm happy there. But aside from that, here, this is our last week for trade, so that's why I'm going to touch on it here. Probably tomorrow and Friday, I'll record them, get them uploaded for Friday, Saturday, because Monday's our last day to trade. But in the first round, I ended up taking Puka, or no, I did not. I ended up taking Ashton Denty here. He was just a running back I was high on early. I typically don't draft running backs early within fantasy football, but this time around, I tried taking a different approach here because I tend to draft heavy on wide receivers. And I had three different options I was going to go with here. I was either going to go with the Bijan route if he somehow fell to me at, I think it was the 10th spot, which I knew wasn't going to happen. And then the other one, who actually just went two picks before me, was Jahmyr Gibbs. He was one that I really, really wanted as well. And then I kind of decided that Ashton Genty was going to be my third. I kind of do just want to pull up the draft here just for a quick second, because there are a few players here that I had my eyes on that I never ended up going with. So, and I just kind of want to give you a little bit of feedback on who I passed up on when I did pick Genty. So what we ended up doing here in this draft was we did a normal snake draft, and then after the third round, we actually did reverse order. Or no, after the second round, the third round flipped to kind of even things out, so it wasn't so stacked with double picks. So this draft was a little interesting for me because I've never done something like that. So basically, round one, you go through your first 12, loops back around, and instead of it looping there in the third, it flipped back to the guy that had the 12 spot. So me having a later pick here in this draft actually helped me quite a bit, as I'll break down a little bit later in a different video. But um, I ended up going with Ashton Genty at the 110. You're not going to see it here on screen, but I passed up on. Sorry, I just sneezed there. I ended up passing on CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Brian Thomas, as well as Joe Burrow. Even with it being a super flex, I didn't feel the need to draft a quarterback high personally. That's why I took quarterbacks later, and it's been up and down. It depends on the week. Kyler Murray's just had a few hit or miss games, and then I've had a few. Well, Daniel Jones has done me really good. I've just been dealing with a lot of injuries this year, but um, I ended up taking Puka in the second, and then in the third, when I had the 3-3, because it flipped, the later pick benefited me from the first round. So I ended up getting Garrett Wilson. Initially going into the draft, I wanted to take Marvin Harrison in the third round, and I think it's been like an even move. It's just Garrett Wilson's been out for a lot longer. Otherwise, I think my pick with Garrett Wilson um, would benefit me a lot better. But that aside, in the fifth round, I took DK Metcalf, which is probably the one pick I regret the most here. I probably should have went with the likes of Chris Olave or Jordan Addison, Devontae Smith, Waddle after. Waddle probably would have been the best option. Um, that popped on up. That's probably my first mistake I did within this draft because DK Metcalf just hasn't had the year I thought he was going to have, and I've had so many other players I could have taken. I literally could have went the route of, Devontae Smith or Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, wrapping it back around. I could have went Justin Herbert early. I could have went McCarthy, Drake May, Prescott, Mayfield. These are all guys that ended up going right after I picked Metcalf. And then Tyler Warren was another one. And then my next pick in the sixth round, I know you guys can't see it on screen. I picked Jerry Jeudy. I thought again he was going to be a player that could have a pretty good year. In this spot, I could have taken the likes of George Pickens. Um, I could have ended up going like Cam Scadaboo and taking a chance early, which I really wish I would have because that would have been massive early in the year. But um, other than that, I don't really hate how I picked in that spot as much as the one as, as the pick before that I hate. Just due to the sheer fact that like things are just not panning out the way I thought they were. Now I had two running backs early because, like I said, I had James Cook in the fourth pick, and then I had four receivers. Again, I thought my receivers would be a little bit better, but I think I made up for it down the road as I ended up taking Alec Pierce late, been pretty consistent, and then I originally had Gadsden, which yeah, I ended up dropping him like an idiot later, but I had a few pretty good picks that I liked later on, and then I have a bunch of youth on my bench, so we'll kind of see how things went. Um, but that aside, we're just gonna kind of highlight a few teams here. What I'm gonna do is just pull up the matchup here for you guys, and then we'll just go through two teams at once. I think is gonna be the goal here. Hopefully, maybe. I think that's what we're gonna end up doing here. Ideally, we might have to switch screens here, or I might have to just go to League and then click on matchups here. All right, so the first one is just going to be me and Mr. Anderson. Mr. Anderson is my coworker's son, so um, his team's looking like Baker Mayfield, Saquon Barkley, Gibbs, AJ Brown, big disappointment this year. Chris Olave, who again I wish I would have picked up. Tyrone Tracy, Slayton, Wicks, Goddard, Carson Wentz. I will say my biggest critique here on his team is not having a third quarterback. Now, with there being 12 teams, not every single team is going to have those three quarterbacks, but at least getting yourself two quarterbacks to the point where you're not feeling like you're screwed because he only has two quarterbacks on his roster and only one of them is a starter currently. So it's not looking good there, and it's been a struggle for him throughout the league just due to that. Um, it's just one of those rough situations where if you don't have that second quarterback, it's not ideal unless you have a really good receiving core or really good running backs where you can fill in that super flex with a non QB. But a lot of teams right now don't have that depth. I think that's something we may see later on down the road as people start trading their picks and trading players because then I could totally see like a few people having teams like that. Like for example, if you guys saw Game of Thrones, like for me, like if I only had one quarterback to start and that was a super flex in that league, I think I have enough depth on that roster to fill in a wide receiver in a certain spot. Like I could throw in Jamison Williams. I have a good feeling about Trey Tucker here soon. I think he might start popping off. And if I didn't want to go wide receiver, when Trey Benson gets healthy, I can throw Trey Benson in there and all of that. But other than that, he picked Pacheco Golden. T. Higgins is on his bench. He picked up Gabe Davis before he got signed to Buffalo, Kincaid. He's been dealing with a lot of injuries. On top of that, I just think his team is really mediocre. He just drafted a way I would not have gone because outside of like two or three guys really that are going to be useful on this team, it's a lot of old guys. And even setting age aside, his team is just not that good in my opinion. Obviously, his record's showing that 2-8. Um, Probably not going to make playoffs. We have a lot of people tied at then the 4 to 6 range. So maybe there's a shot if he goes on a streak here at the end, but he'd have to win five and have like three people lose out. But um, aside from that, we saw my initial set of guys here. Harold Fanning was for some reason dropped to the wire after being picked super early, so I picked him up right away. I made a trade for Javonte Williams, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Kyle Monungai was a guy I had on my taxi spot, but when Swift was hurt that one week, I ended up starting him. And when I talk over all my matchups, that's a really frustrating week. Monungai had me 23 points without a touchdown, and I go up against Brock Bowers that week and get completely smoked because of it. I mean, I put up 170 points, and I lost by 27 still, so it was a little annoying. But that was the Brock Bowers effect there. One thing to note here for our leagues, we do boost the quarterbacks just slightly, just to kind of give them more of that value. If we did not boost them, I can see an argument for someone putting Slayton in there because really just a touchdown and like 50 yards, and you could be putting up points like quarterbacks, if not more, at that rate. So we do have it a little juice, not like crazy like we do in Game of Throws or my keeper league, but we do tend to try to balance that out because quarterback's the most valuable position on the field, and this is a big thing for my dad and I. He should be getting the most points, even in fantasy. He should be getting the most points by a lot, so it should just give you more of an emphasis on drafting quarterbacks early in a super flex, which when I talk about the draft in an upcoming video, you'll see like 4 or 5 quarterbacks on that first round, which kind of helped me get the running backs I wanted. And then luckily for me, Daniel Jones is having a good year. So I've been able to fill him in with Kyler Murray because Bryce Young has been a real bad disappointment. My backup option there was going to be Justin Fields, and both of those guys have sucked. So, aside from that, I have Trey Benson on my bench, which when Connor went down, as much as I hate to say it, I was kind of happy because it gave me a flex option on the next week. Benson goes down, and I haven't been able to use him since. So I'm really hoping he can make it back here in the next week or two. So I have some hope going into next year that he could be that guy in that offense, but right now I just really don't. Um, Jaden Blue was someone I picked up as well. I have him in both my dynasties. I have a good feeling about him. I just don't know when it's going to come into effect of when he's going to start getting more playing time and be beneficial on that offense. But 2 years time, 3 years time, I could see him splitting with Javonte Williams. If they keep Williams around, if not, then if he can show something, then maybe I get lucky and he starts popping on off. Um, LaQuint Allen, I ended up just picking up off the waiver. He's just kind of sitting on my bench right now because I just don't have much more to do with him. Um, I just want to see how this Jacksonville backfield kind of pans on out, and we don't know what's really going on with that backfield. Besides, they're starting running back in and all the reps there and ETN. So there's that. Another thing I want to note is I did pull a second player off my taxi spot in Harold Fanning. So 2 of my taxi players have been pulled off. So I've had to drop a few players on my team, but that's fine because it makes my team look a little bit stronger. But aside from that, I have Jordan Mason, who initially I was super excited about having on the Vikings, and then when Jones went down, he really had one game and then has done nothing. And now with Jones back, he's just literally a dud. So I would love to trade him if I could, but no one wants him. So kind of stuck with him right now. Torrey Horton, another young receiver that I just wanted to pick. That was literally my only reason. I just wanted a young receiver to take a shot on. Same with Alec Ailmaner. I was hoping for more from Cam Ward. I like seeing things in their training camp. I was like, oh my god, this guy might actually be like really good. And then it's kind of been meh. But they have a few other guys in that offense there, like Shamir Dyke's been playing really good. I mean, they still have Calvin Ridley, who I don't think is really going to do anything this year. And then Van Jefferson, they ended up getting rid of Tyler Lockett not too long ago. So Garrett Wilson, another one of my starters. Like I said, I picked him in the third round. Um, he's just been injury prone this year. So I've had him on my bench for half the year already, if not longer, because I don't know if he'll be even back for playoffs if I make playoffs. So see how that goes. Josh Downs is another player I ended up trading for. I gave up a first round pick, which we'll talk about later. I was on that bandwagon there of, oh, Josh Downs is going to be that guy in this offense, and it hasn't fully played out, but there's 3 really good receivers in this offense. If Michael Pittman's gone next year or something like that, then it might just be a long-term commitment there. I don't have a problem with trading my first round picks. I actually have no first round picks anymore in this league, so we'll see how that pans out. It panned out pretty good for me last year, not having a first round pick in my other league, because like I said, I got, Scadaboo, Judkins, a few other people, but um, we'll see how it pans out next year. I have an early second round draft pick that I have on top of what I already have, so we'll kind of see and play it by ear here. But aside from that, AJ Barner, Brenton Strange there on the bench again. Strange, another one who's been just out almost all year, so injuries have not been kind to me as of late. It started off pretty good in most of the leagues, and then Puka went down, and Garrett Wilson the same week, and it was just a mess. After that, we do have Jake and Baldylocks here. not bad teams here. Brian went with the approach of drafting two quarterbacks early and then two running backs, so his receiving core, in my opinion, is a bit weak and old. You got Debo and Sutton, both old guys. I like the Waddle pick. I'm hit or miss on Hawkinson just because I don't like the Vikings offense right now. And then it's kind of a mishmash in there. And then you look at the rest of his team here, and it's just kind of, I don't know. I was talking to him earlier at one of our meetings, and I'm like, dude, your team's just kind of meh to me. Like, there's only like one or two guys I trade for, and most of those guys are untouchables for him. Like JT, obviously untouchable. I would never trade him if I had him, but Devin Neal, and I think JT even dropped to the third round in our league, fourth round. Wow, I had a chance to get him too. That might have been a mistake there on my part as well, but um, he just doesn't have like one of those teams that sticks out to me. Unfortunately, I don't really have much to say about it either. I think it's just a really old team with a lot of young guys that he's hoping pop off, like McCaffrey, Tipton, Royals. I mean Jordan James. Like most of his team is like that. I do like the Jackson Dart pickup. I don't think he needs whoever this is. I don't think he needs Brosmer. There's people on his team I don't think he really needs, but it's not my team, so I'm not worried about it. Jake Schmidt, I do like the Gabriel pick. I was actually trying to get him early in the year in case Flacco got benched, which eventually happened, and I was unsuccessful at getting Gabriel. And then Rico Daldo and RJ Harvey. I like both these picks. I was not expecting Daldo to pop off like he has been this year, but it's been working. St. Brown, a good pick. He actually ended up trading like Pittman to my dad, so I think he kind of screwed himself a little bit. 'Cause I think he was trying to rebuild too early, but it's not my team, not my problem. And then McBride, I always like that pick. He has McBride in both of them now. And then these three guys right here, and then you look at his bench, and it's just kind of bunch. You got Joe Burrow hurt, and then a bunch of backups there. And then you go down the list here, James Conner, IR. He's honestly, I don't know if he's gonna have much in the tank left after an injury, so I don't know what Jake will do there. Um, got Tyler Johnson and Singletary there, and then Hubbard. Not like anything crazy here on this team again as well. Like the record kind of reflects that, so I think he's just kind of playing for picks next year. Because I think if I just pull up his team specifically here, he's got quite a few picks next year and the year after. So really, he was just setting himself up for picks because he's got one, two, three, four there, five there, one, two, three, four, and 26, and then 28. He picked up another one. So he was really just playing for picks there, which I get. But at the same rate, like you really had to hit those picks because we've seen it in our other league, and if you don't hit those picks, you're screwed. And some people have not hit those picks, and they've kind of screwed themselves this year. So, but moving along, we will hop into my brother's team here. Sam Darnold, Devon Achane, really nice duo there. You got Derrick Henry as well. I think Henry fell actually pretty far in our draft here, just due to the fact that people didn't want to pick him. So I mean, literally the second to last pick there in the fourth round, which is kind of a steal there for him. My brother ended up taking CeeDee Lamb. Devon Achane was actually one I wanted to take in our third round reversal too, but my brother took him a pick before me, so unfortunate there. But Brian Thomas was another pick there. I think this is the one pick my brother kind of regrets because he hasn't done anything this year, and that offense is interesting to say the least. But George Pickens, which he actually ended up taking CeeDee Lamb, Pickens, and Javonte Williams. But like I said, I traded for Williams to have on my team, so um, hit three Cowboys starting like for the first few months here. And then Keenan Allen, who actually was playing really well for him. And then Judkins was another one he picked up. I don't remember when he drafted him, but it was relatively early there. His team's actually not really that bad, and he's just been really unlucky this year, sitting there at 3-7. Injuries have been hitting him left and right, and he's just had a lot of high-scoring weeks too. So his bench, I'm not too crazy about. I like the pay they pick up. He just recently had, but my brother doesn't really play for much of a bench anyways, so I don't really have much to say about that. On the other side here, we have Crawford. Jalen Hurts is his quarterback. ETN, Charbonnet. He had Chase Brown early in the year. He ended up trading him. Aside from that, he had like Nico Collins that he ended up trading as well. So we'll again highlight that here in a little bit. But Diggs, McConkey, Addison, Ferguson, Pearsall. Not a bad team. Not great, not bad, but somewhere in between. I think he'll be always on the cusp of making playoffs or not. And if he drafts right, then he should be a decent team. Um, aside from that, nothing too crazy there on the bench outside of Tyler Warren, who's on a bye week. So not a whole lot to be said there. Um, Joe Mamison, who honestly to me was one of the teams I was not expecting that much out of. Lamar Jackson, CMC, Aaron Jones, Flowers, JSN. Like I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't that high on JSN this year. Sam Darnold over in there, but Sam Darnold's been a beast this year, so I gotta give him props there. I like the Lamar Jackson pickup because he took him in the first round actually. That was the player he really wanted because he's had success with them in the past. CMC, I don't hate the pick. At the same rate, he is getting old, and I think he is one injury away from just being done. Same as Jones there. Um, Zay Flowers, which I thought was personally a hot take, but the week I play Joe is the week he pops off there in week one, so that was great. And then George Kittle, David Montgomery, Trey Tucker, Matthew Stafford. Nothing like, in my opinion, I don't think his team is like crazy good, but it is definitely better than quite a few of our teams. I still think I could beat him. I think I could beat any team here in this league because I really like my team and I expect a lot out of them. Aside from that, though, the bench is just a bench there. It's just a bunch of old guys, basically. And then we hop on over here to Caleb, um, who ended up drafting two quarterbacks early as well. So he's got Bo Nix, Kyron Williams, Swift, Parker Washington. Did he pick him up on the wire or what happened there? Oh, no, he picked him literally towards the end of the draft. Aside from that, Khalil Shakir, DJ Moore, Kyle Pitts, Booty, Worthy, Allen. So not a bad team by any means. Um, Bucky Irving. So once he gets Irving back, I think his team will be a little bit better as well. But definitely a team I think I can beat again any day of the week. So I like his rookies here, and Lane and Noel, and then Arroyo as well. So I do think he did a decent job there picking up some nice rookies towards the end as well. But and then you got my dad's team and Parker's team. This is Parker Dash Connor, they're brothers, so they run the same team just under the same account. But my dad ended up taking Bijan right away, and then he wanted to get like a really young team, so he got Abuka. Um, Ended up drafting a Dunzy, Quinston Johnston. Ended up trading for Marvin Harrison, so he's got a really young team here. He's got Troy Franklin as well. Donovan Knight. Did he bench? Did I miss Marv? Was Marv in the starting lineup? Am I speaking? Hold on a second here. I swear my dad had Marv. Just give me a second here, ladies and gents. I just gotta pull up my dad's team here in a second. I thought he had Marvin Harrison here, but I was not seeing him when I was scrolling through. Oh, that's why he's on this out. Oh, it's not showing the taxi spots, is what it's doing. Okay, if the taxis and out are not showing. He also has Hampton there as well, so he's got a really young team, a really talented team, so it's not looking too bad there for him. Um, I think he'll be a top contender almost every single year, so good for him. He had made a nice trade early that's really benefited him, so is what it is there. Aside from that, we got Josh Jacobs, Gainwell, Herbert on the other side. Um, Devontae Adams, Jameson Williams, Mark Andrews, a bunch of old heads really outside of like the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks are really nice there, I think. And then you look at the bench and it's just kind of meh, nothing crazy. I don't have much to say there. Jamar Chase is the only one where I'm like, okay, and that's really about it. Like I don't have much more to say about that. McLaurin's been hurt most of the year, so I'm not even gonna really highlight him there for them. And then aside from those guys, we'll hop on in here to E-Raid's team. Drake May at quarterback. Kenneth Walker, kind of a disappointment for me this year. I do like Travion Henderson. It's just I think he's kind of anchored down by Stevenson when he's in there. Love Drake London. Shaheed, back and forth on. Coker, I like the Coker pickup. Loveland, Bill, I just could care less for. I'm thankful I did not actually get him in either one of our drafts there. Gadsden again, if I just didn't drop him, I'd have another solid flex each week. Jordan Love, I like the Love pickup there. Brock Purdy on the bench, so not bad there. bench wise, for me personally, I don't really care for the bench much. Um, but not everyone's, I don't know, putting in the time towards their bench. I guess it might not be bad for Ethan. He's got his own take on it, but I don't care for his bench at all, to be honest. One of the teams where I think a player got kind of lucky with the trade, Connor. He's got a pretty nice team here. I hate to admit that, but McCarthy is one of his quarterbacks. Chase Brown and Warren as running backs. And then you got Nico Collins, Justin Jefferson, Ted McMillan, Brock Bowers, Rashi Rice. Like he kind of got gifted Rashi Rice because I think he went relatively. Oh, never mind. I thought he went later. When did he drop Bowers? Huh. Well, anyways, he traded for Nico Collins. I can't say much there. When did he get Ted? Wow, he actually did a really good job drafting. I'll give him that. Aside from that, his bench is just a bench. It's Trevor Lawrence as a backup quarterback basically, and um, that's all I really have there. He picked up Scat as well, so I think he actually did a really good job drafting this year. Year before it was kind of hit or miss, but um, I think he did a pretty solid job there. He ended up getting Caleb Johnson as well, which I'm just trying to see roughly when these guys are picked. 5-7. Man, he drafted a lot of guys earlier than I thought he would, but I think long term that might pay off there for him. Not a bad team. I'll give him that. All right. Aside from that, here we'll go into trades that we had throughout the league. That'll kind of wrap up things here if I can find where I had it before. Recent activity, and then we'll go through trades, and we'll start from the beginning here, just kind of touch on everything. There's not going to be many. There's maybe like 8 of them, I think, but that's probably about it. But I made the first trade in the league where I gave up a 27 first for Josh Downs. Again, I'm super high on him, and I may regret that later, but we'll see how that goes. After that, my dad made a trade with Parker. Like I said, Marv and Laporta for Andrews and Williams. The only issue I have with this is I think my dad got away with a little bit of a steal. I would have liked to have seen at least a pick or a pick swap in that mix, just because of Andrews' age, Laporta's age. I mean, Harrison and Williams are kind of back and forth for me. I could see an argument either way, I guess, for that. I would lean towards Harrison, but um, a pick swap probably would have been ideal in that, or at least adding a pick in there, even if it was just a third. A lot of these trades, truthfully, in my opinion, if you just add in an extra pick, and if I think it's uneven, I typically kind of weigh that out. Aside from that, I made another trade there with Ethan. I gave up my 26 second for Jaden Reed. I just wanted another guy on my bench there, which I don't know if it showed up when I was looking at my team, but aside from that, Crawford made a trade with Connor, one of 2 trades that Connor made with them, but um, Connor got Chase Brown in a 27 third, gave up 2 first round picks, so Crawford was riding the hype there of Chase Brown from last year, which was smart. He did it early in the season because he hasn't had to deal with that disappointment there. And then after that, my dad made a trade with Jake, like I said. Oh, this one actually I didn't say. My dad traded for Rashad White around the time Bucky Irving got hurt for a second round pick, so it's worked out decent for my dad there. After that, my dad made a trade with my brother. My dad, as soon as Neighbors went down, really wanted a receiver from the Giants, so he ended up picking Robinson. He got Chubb in the mix, and then a second. I don't think he's used Chubb once, so I think that was just a filler there. He gave up a first and a third, so not bad trade there for my dad. He's made a few good trades here, and it's kind of annoying, but after that, Connor made a trade again with Crawford there. Um, Crawford ended up giving up Nico Collins there and received Stephon Diggs and a first, which actually hasn't worked out too bad for him. Diggs hasn't had a terrible year, and he picked up a first as well. So after that, my dad made yet again another trade here where he ended up. Jeez, my dad made a lot of trades there, but he ends up getting Michael Pittman and then trading away 2 of his picks. Again, I think Jake was a little too early on pulling that trigger. It was just a month ago, basically, but I was during a time where he was right around even, so I don't know what his thought process was there. And then he ends up trading Jalen Warren to Connor for a pick. So as you can tell, he was trying to rebuild early, which I don't get personally at all. But it's not my team. So and then my dad ends up making a trade here with Ethan. Sorry, after like 30 minutes, my headset shuts off. But they end up trading tight ends there and then picks. Don't hate it. Oh well. And then lastly, I ended up making a trade with my brother, um, like 3 weeks ago here, where I traded him 2 first round picks, and then I got Javonte Williams, a 26 second, and then a 28 third, which I can live with. I got at least 2 picks back, so I can still utilize some picks in the future, and I got a player out of it. I did not want to give up 2 first round picks like that, but I still wanted to compete this year, and I needed to beat my dad one week, which that literally helped me beat my dad. I'm not gonna lie. Um, but I just wanted to make sure I had a flex player because injuries were tanking my team. It was just not going to be a good week. So I'm like, okay, I got to make a move. My brother was going back and forth. Originally, it was like he wanted my first and second for Javante straight up, and I'm like, damn, I should have taken that because Javante was popping off. And then he changed it to, oh, well, I want this and this. And I'm like, oh, I can't do that because I think originally he did pitch me that again. Was the 2 first rounds. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that because he just wanted the 2 first for Javante straight. And I'm like, I would need some picks in return. And then we just went back and forth. And um, I don't think I even wanted to give up a second round or a second first round pick, but at least I got picks back here. And if I can finish in the top four, even in the top five, and then my brother finishes in the bottom four for me, that first round to second round is only like 7 or 8 picks. I'm like, I think I can live with giving up 7 players there. Um, but I at least got myself a pick back. So I still do have 2 picks for next year. I think that's all I have next year actually is 2 picks, and then 27 I have 2 picks, and then 28 I have 3. Just no first round picks because I traded away all my first. So we'll see how things go. I'm gonna try to maybe make some moves here. We'll kind of see. I don't know really if anyone's gonna trade. I only have a few more days left for that anyways. So we'll kind of just have to wait and see what players people are wanting to trade. I'm still trying to make some moves because I really need to make some moves, but um, that's just kind of to help me the rest of this year. But I also like to set myself up for the future. If I can get a player I want now, then that would be the goal. But who knows? That's all I have though here for you guys today. I just kind of wanted to give you a brief little update on this. Like I said, I'm gonna kind of touch on people's teams and maybe who they should trade for, and then from there just kind of go about it week by week. After that, I think I'll touch on all the matchups, like all of them I've lost and won across the 2 leagues, and then everyone else's games throughout that week. Kind of highlight players that popped off. Those videos might be lengthy as well, but just something to kind of get some content pushing, and then hopefully next year I'll get it where every week I'm highlighting all the matches, talking about possible trades that I had in the works that fell through, and maybe a few other things like that. Um, just a little bit of something to get it going. Just a little flow here. It's not gonna be anything crazy. It might be just like 2 videos after next week, like a week, maybe even just one, just to kind of highlight a few things. Maybe look at playoffs. If I had permission to watch games while doing this, I totally would because I have Sundays off, so I could watch games, give live reactions. I just can't pull it up on screen because of copyright issues. So that's all I again have for you today. Right now, I'm looking for a quarterback and receiver in this league, so I'm gonna try to make some moves and we'll kind of keep you updated from there. But see you guys in the next one, and leave a comment if you have any video ideas.